This training video is on HLS channel ordering. It was brought about because there are many HLS users that have imported Vixen 2 sequences, and some of them are getting confused about HLS channel ordering. So hopefully this video will address the disorder of ordering and kind of clear up that. Vixen 2 is a very good program, and many people have been using it for years, driving Renard type controllers. Now, I've never used Vixen 2, and I've never used a Renard controller, so my next statement is what I believe. If I'm wrong, I'll tell you right now, I'm sorry. But if I'm not mistaken, when somebody started a sequence with Vixen 2, they identified the controller, and then they identified the number of channels that were on that controller. And once you did that, you locked those channels into your Vixen 2 sequence. It was very difficult to manipulate or move. So most people became to the understanding that once channel owner was established, that was it. It never changed. And in HLS, channel owner is changing all over the place, depending on what specific channel order you're speaking about. And that is what this video is about. What I have on the screen is HLS. A user supplied me with a Vixen import that they did earlier in the spring. It was mainly incandescents, LEDs, driving primarily Renard type of controllers. He wanted to try to embellish his display by adding components that were pixel driven. So for instance, he removed a few of his mini trees that were being driven by incandescents, and he replaced them with pixel mini trees. He added a mega tree that's being driven by pixels and other such things. So what we have here today is a HLS sequence that is a mix of a older Vixen 2 import plus all of the other channels he's added within HLS to embrace the additional components in his display. Okay, so let's move to manage channels. It says raw channels. This is usually, when I say raw channels, what we're referring to. Raw channels is a working dialog box that allows you to add, remove, rename, everything that happens to do with every channel in your sequence is managed through raw channel. Now, you're going to watch the working element. It goes to almost 9,000 working elements. I think there's probably a little over 7,000 physical channels. Now, many of those channels are RGB channels. So if you were to look at a controller-based operation, we're sitting right around 25,000 individual controller-based channels. So here is the managed channel display. Here are all of the names. Many of these names are imported from Vixen, and then a lot of the names are names that he put in place based on HLS implementation. Okay? So these are the names. Here's the universe number that he has them assign them to. Now, here's an important consideration. Within HLS, any channel that is assigned to universe 0 is not considered to be outputted to a controller. Unlike, let's say, Vixen, where every channel had to be outputted, in HLS, if it's assigned to universe 0, it's not being outputted. So one thing is, a big question is, why does this individual have all of these 0 channels? And mainly it's because all of the incandescent channels that he had in the Vixen 2, he's not driving those anymore. So they quite frankly don't mean anything. So he's not putting them to his output of his new display. Now, he could very well, and I would recommend you go in and you delete what I call these dead channels. You're more than likely not using them. If you're not using them, get rid of them. It will speed up HLS operations because there's just that less number of channels and resources that I have to contend with. But that's universe 0. When you slide down, now you'll start seeing here's his universes that is actually transmitting. He's got universe 10, which is primarily going to a series of Renard controllers. When he starts getting into universe 20 and 30 and 40, these are primarily E31 based universes that are being sent to a E681, E682 controller. As you can see, many things are marked as RGB. When we're up here in universe 10, you're going to see there's a lot of them are not RGB. These are your, as I said, your Renard type controllers. Order. Here is one place where we have order. Now, this order number, which I'll explain in a minute, is important because this order number tells HLS in what physical order to save these when we save them and load them. So when this loads in, this array and how it's organized is loaded in by this order number. So the physical sequence in this grid when we start up is by this physical order number. Now, I'll show you how to manipulate this order number to change how this display is organized, but you don't have to do that very much. I mean, why would you want to reorganize this display? There's really nothing here except if you want to go in and start renaming, then physical order is important. If you want to start assigning to universes, then physical order is important. Other than name changing or universe assignment, the order of channels in this display are pretty much, I want to say meaningless, but they're not important. Okay? Here's a feature over here. It's called GRB. Real early on, RGB is a standard RGB string. But there are some strings out there that are GRB. There are also some which this user refers to them as LED dancers. I'm not quite sure exactly, but what it is, it's a string of single color pixels, but each pixel is individually addressed. So from a transmission point of view, or from a, not a transmission point of view, but from a thought point of view, every individual light on that LED dancer string is uniquely addressable, but you don't get to address the color. It's a single color. This person has many of them, and if you notice, they will be shown here where it says mono. Okay, so that's just to tell you that you can handle these LED dancer type strings if you identify them as mono. It allows me to address them in the preview and other such things as if they were individually addressed lights, but it only goes one channel. You need to mark them RGB too. Okay, so there we go. So how might we want to change this order? Well, if you notice right now, this order is primarily how it was imported from Vixen. So all these names are all goofed up. I mean, we're at DMX, and then we're at Minitree, and everything else. So how do we get around that? Well, tell you what, let's put everything in alphabetical order. So we will click on the order button, and HLS, now it's kind of, if you got a lot of channels, it takes a few seconds here because I've got to go out and be able to put everything in place. So during this time, HLS is effectively reloading this grid, but now it's making sure that when it reloads it, the channels are based alphabetically. Okay? And you're going to see the order column here is all kind of goofied up. And I'll show you how to fix that if you want to keep them in that order. There we go. So now they are in alphabetical sort order. So if you come down, you can see we got A's and C's and things of that nature. Okay, but if you look, this order is all goofied up. So let's say from this time on, I want to see everything in here in alphabetical order. And I'll show you why here in a minute. Maybe we want to inject a channel, or we want to move some stuff around. So the easiest thing to do is highlight this first one and pull it all down. Just pull it down. We're selecting every channel in this order. We're going to pull it all the way down. If you notice, the channel numbers are all over the place. Now I'm going to come over here, and I'm just going to put, well, I'm going to start it at 100. Okay? And we're going to reorder the channels. Now they've been reordered. Now we want to refresh after the order change. What HLS is doing now it's going out. It's reorganizing this display, not by name, but it's organizing them by our new channel order. Yeah, that's what you get for trying to move the display while it's working. So we'll wait here for a minute. She'll be updating here very shortly. There we go. Now, it's still in alphabetical order because we didn't change it. But if you notice now we have the order has changed. Okay? Now, why would I want to do that? I may have, let's see, right here. We've got two strings sitting right in here, okay? We've got a nice sequence of string. There's 26, 18, and here's 26, 27. Here's 2. If I go in and change this sequence number, I can change sequence number and then hit refresh after order change, and it'll totally readdress. So let's write this down. We're at 1090. I'll just show you here. We're gonna kind of put these at the end just for illustration purposes. So I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to write a big number. We're going to go 10, 1, 2, 3. 10,000. And I'm going to go 10, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to force these two at the bottom of this physical list just to show you that I can close the gap here. Okay? We refresh after order. And now we should see 1090 when we come back, and this will be slightly different here. These two will be reordered. So by changing these orders, you can either hand go in and manipulate them. I'll show you one more thing here on why this may be, well, as we wait. There we go. And you see 1090 is back. And now, notice 1091 and 92 are missing. It just goes down to 1093. It's in the specific order, but now if you notice, we have these channels. I may have wanted to do that because I may want to come up here, select all these channels, and I may want to rename them. So the purpose of reordering, you can either set a group, come down here and reorder them, or you can manipulate the numbers. If you hit change with order, it will regroup to this order column, and this order column is what's physically saved to the disk in this sequential order, and it's what's loaded. Other than that, ignore this column. Now, these numbers are going to change because every time you save and reload, I renumber these from number 1. So these numbers will constantly change on you. The numbers are not important, so don't get focused on them. Okay? So, again, just to finalize it, what does order in raw channels do for you? It gets it physically in a sequential layout. So you may want to assign universe numbers by doing a group pull. You may want to rename just by doing a group name. You come down here and then you can rename selected channels down here. Now just remember, if you're going in and renaming channels, and when you want to import things from the library from year to year, it does a channel name match. So be very careful when you go in and start renaming channels, because if you try then to use a library layout function, if the channels don't match, they don't merge. Okay? So that covers order in raw sequence. Let's save this. Now I want to show you the next place that HLS order. And that is in Setup Channels and Display. Let's just pick one. Let's just pick arc spokes here. Okay? Here we have a bunch of arc spokes. And he's got a bunch of universe zeros. And let's just say we want to deal with the leaping arches here. So, oh, he's got a couple of beat tracks here. Beat track high. Let's get rid of these. To get rid of them, we're just going to pull them down. I just want to, I've got too many here to show you up front, so we'll use this opportunity to remove some of these and show you what we're doing. Remember, in HLS, you can create a display group to show any portion of your sequence. You create a display group that has a manageable number of a manageable size number of channels that you want to be able to work with. So let's uncheck these. And this was called arc spokes. We'll save that change. If we come back here and we go arc spokes again, now if you notice, we've got a smaller. Now here is how you would work with order here. We've got, let's say these are in the order. Well, these are not in the order we want. If you notice, 5 is on top of 1. And then we got 4 and 3. So I want my beat tracks on top. So if I come down here, reorder at 1, now my beat track is at 1. I come up here, here is my arches. I can come here, and we're just going to say 10 for that. Remember, I'm just trying to get a number in order. 17. Now we go to 2. So we come down here, and we pull down to 2, and we're just going to say that's going to be 20. And now we're going to do 3s. We're going to do 3s. Oh, the 4 is right below it. So we're going to come up here and we're going to do that's 30. Now we're going to pick up our 5s. And I'm going to say that's going to be 100. Now, I clicked on the order header. That just says reorganize this in this order number. So now if you notice, I've totally rechanged how this whole display. I've got my beat tracks at the top. I have in my leaping arches starting with group 1, followed by group 2, group 3, group 4, group 5. If you notice, I used this ordering capability to rechange that. Now we're going to save those changes. Now let's display that group. Here's our arc spokes. And now if you notice, we got our beat tracks on top, and we have this. So the purpose of a display group is to organize the channels here in the work display. And in doing so, you can very nicely change the order. So the order here is exactly, this order is preserved, okay? This order is preserved, so we know exactly how it is. Now, here's a new feature that I added, well, within the last little while. In the past, if you had to, let's say we want to add a channel to this. If you hit Modified List, what happened before is it just kind of screwed up the whole order again. This version of HLS has been revised, so when it pops up, you're going to find that your existing display is on the top, and all of the other channels, see, here's our display, the order is preserved, And when you come down, all of your other channels are now located below it. So you can go ahead and you can add channels. Once you add channels, you can change the order, put these new channels on top, in between, or you can do whatever. So order in select channels to work on defines the order that they will appear in the grid. Why would order in the grid be important to you? Well, if you're doing horizontal chases or vertical chases, then sequential order in the grid is important because it's going to define how lights are going to jump from channel to channel as you're doing various races across the grid. All right? So that's the second way that order is used. Now let's move to output ordering. This is the most important ordering within HLS, since this says this is the physical order I want to transmit to my controllers. So we clicked on output and we did output, prepare channels for output. Now when we come up in this, you'll notice we have channel 10. There's a lot of 20 all the way down to channel 200, or excuse me, universe 220. And if you notice, within the channel, everything is all kind of goofy. And it's goofy because when it was all brought over, in this case from Vixen, the channel names changed. The user added things. If you notice, you got pin 10, and then you got a bunch of lights in between. So it's all kind of goofy for transmission. For this discussion, we're going to assume that we want to get things in name numerical sequence, just for the hell of it, okay? So this is how I would recommend. There's many ways. If you click on the name, what the grid will do is it will alphabetize within each universe all of the channels by names. Now, more than likely, when you set up your controller and your channels were in sequential order, and hopefully you gave those channels names that you went in sequential order. So now if you look, we're in channel 10, and we have all of our channels in sequential name order. This may not be the physical order we want to drive them, but at least they're in a name order. So what I would do then is, once you have it in this name order, let's lock it down to that order. So what I would do is come over here and do output order, and I'm just going to lock everything down. Now this order here is, don't worry about the numerical value. I'm going to come in and I'm going to say 1,000. Just a big number. There we go. Now if we look, within each universe, we have the channels by name, and we have this fictitious order number. The importance here, it's in sequence. Now, when you hit this prepare channel for output, this button here will change these channel numbers. These channel numbers are the physical channel address that's associated with this universe for transmission to your controller. So we want to get these channel numbers in the right order. Okay? So for this example, let us assume that leaping arches happens to be the very first thing that's going out to our Renard box. So we come over here. Now, here's the thing. If you know what channel number should be here, you can sit down and write your channel number in each and every one of these things. It takes a little long, a little detailed, but you can put a channel number. I could write a channel number like this is going to be channel number 1, just like that. Okay? And I could go down here and do that's channel 2. The other way is I'm going to grab all of these arches. I'm going to grab those arches, and I'm going to turn around and say set that to 1. Now, if I do by order, output order, now I'm still in channel 10, but look at, now I've put all my leaping arches is at the top. If you notice, I've got a big number So they just are starting to fall below is what they are. So I'm at 40 there. Let us say now that the new candy canes come afterwards. Okay. Well, if I look up here, I think I ended in 40. So I'm just going to put new candy canes. Now here, see, this came over from Vixen. With an HLS, you'll find that all of my ordering is multi-digit. Because unfortunately, this grid, when it sorts 1, 10, 11, 12, and then it sorts to 2. So it sorts by that first instead of numeric. If this was a 2-digit or 3-digit, it would work appropriately. So here's a perfect example of how to use order to kind of fix this. Okay, so we want this to be the next one. So we're just going to come over here and we're going to make that 50. Now here's 2. So we're going to come over here and we're going to pull this down. We're going to come all the way down to 9 and we're going to make that 51. Now let's just click on order and we come up here. Now you notice we got Candy Way 1 all the way to 9. Now we can come down here and pick up Candy 10. Here's 10. So now I could come down and we're just going to pick a number 200 for now. 200. And we're going to go down to 16. The number itself means nothing. What it does is it sorts by that number. So now if you notice, we got all the leaping arches, we got the candy canes, and we got all the new candy canes all the way down. So you could sit down. Hopefully, it's showing you how to do this, okay? Now, here's the thing. The idea is within each universe to get these in the proper order that you need for your transmission. Now, if you look, obviously, these channels are all goofy. The idea, get them in this grid in proper sequence order. So let us assume that for grid 10 or universe 10, we have everything set up because we have a good up and through new candy canes. We've got it in order. What you do then, once you're fine with the physical order, hit prepare channels for output. Now if you notice, this column changed. This column changed, and now this is physical channel address 1, universe 10, channel address 2, universe 10. These came in numerical order based on the physical order within these grids. Now what's going to happen when you come down here, if you notice if they're RGBs, you're going to get them jumping by 3 because an RGB is actually 3 channels. All right, so use order column either by bulk order, by individual order, clicking on name to get them in the physical location. Once they're in the physical location, click prepare for channel, and this is the channel number. Now, how about this fixed DMX channel? Let us say, for an example, that the very first part end of this DMX was going out to an incandescent mini tree, and we're not using it, maybe several mini trees. And one way of doing it is basically reconfigure that particular Renard. Recapture those unused. But let's say that for some reason we don't want to go out and reflash that pick. We want this guy to physically start at channel 13. DMX channel 13. So channels 1 through 12 are effectively dead. There's nothing hooked up out there. But when it goes out to Renard DMX channel 13, we want to start doing this one. And let's just come down here and say Candy Cane is at 75. So we don't have to reprogram our picks. Now, once those are in place, hit prepare for channel. Now what you're going to notice is that the channel came and it started at 13. Now what happened to all of these previous channels? Well, this says take any channel prior to this and HLS will not run around carrying unused resources, but when it comes time to transmit, we'll actually put in zeros for 12 channels in front of this. So you're saving some resources. Now if we come down here, we're going to notice, see, we went all the way down. Now here's a perfect example. I said make it 41. We already had too many channels here, so it ignored this. Let us say that this was actually 50. I wanted to show you. So we're going to say it's 50. Now when we do that, now we come all the way down to channel 44, it jumps to 50. There's a bunch of dead channels in there. HLS will properly fill those in for transmission, making leaping arch here at 50. Actually, I put it in the wrong spot, didn't I? I wanted to come down here and put in new candy canes, but I must have fat fingered that. So that's what I wanted to show you. So this is the most critical. This is what really gets people goofied up because they're not really quite sure how to get these in numerical order. Play with the grid sorting capability. Play with changing output order. Remember, physical number may not be important to you as long as it's in proper sequence. This channel order is part of your sequence data, so it gets saved. So as you put these numbers in here, as you save and reopen HLS, this numbers, they are part of your sequence, so they will always stay there for you. Okay? So I hope that explains channel ordering in HLS. We explain channel ordering in raw channels, which is not really that important. We explain channel ordering in display groups, which allows you to set up displays here within the grid in proper sequence. And then the most important channel ordering is an output, since that is what physically assigns channel numbers to universes that are sent to your controllers. I hope you enjoyed this training video, and I certainly hope it helps. Have a nice day.